is Valley News Live at 6.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on Valley News Live at 6. I'm Courtney Lockey. Justin Betty and Stacy Van Dyke have the night off. A demolition derby is underway in honor of a Valley City man who recently died. 29-year-old Brady Larson was a nationally known derby driver. Friends and family organized this derby to honor his life and remember the sport he loved the most. Valley News Team's Anna Ballweber has more.
After the passing of 29-year-old Brady Larson, two communities were left in shock. The town of Valley City and the Demolition Derby community. They've now joined together to remember their friend's legacy.
After he passed, we decided we're going to have a memorial show for him, and we figured, the winter show's got to be the best place. So.
Larson competed in his first derby competition when he was just 15 years old. Those around him immediately saw his passion.
He really inspired a lot of people to get in a demolition derby. He was always helping the younger crowd develop the sport. He was always pushing the envelope to build a stronger, better car and compete on a national level.
Pushing the envelope and touching hearts of everyone around him.
He touched so many people just with his huge heart and positive attitude that his legacy is just huge for us.
And that legacy has turned into a life motto for some.
Brady's number was 110, and he lived life at 110%, always. That's why his number was that.
A hole in their hearts, more than 1,000 community members are now joining together for the Memorial Derby.
There hasn't been two people that haven't been willing to basically give us a shirt off their back, and it's the amount of times I've heard anything you guys need, and that's probably the coolest part.
Anything they need to honor a friend and to remember Larson as truly living life at 110%. In Valley City, Anna Ballweber, Valley News Live.
The band Hairball will also be at the Derby tonight. They go on stage at 9:30. Showtime for tomorrow's Derby starts at 1:10.